on this now with Robert Kelly, a professor in the Department of Political Science and Diplomacy at Pusan National University. He joins us from the South Korean city of Busan. Good to have you back on the program, Professor. Until last week, North Korea had claimed that it had basically emerged from the pandemic unscathed. Now it's saying it's got almost 2 million cases and dozens of deaths. Why now? Why is the country reporting these cases and deaths at this point in time?
Yeah, that's actually a really good mystery. I mean, it's highly unlikely that North Korea had no COVID cases previously, right? I mean, if you look at the world totals of COVID and how the disease has basically spread everywhere in the last 2 years, it would be astonishing if it somehow managed to not slip into North Korea. I have the feeling what's happened is that maybe there were some patients that were quarantined or something like that and escaped, or something, or there was some sort of minor outbreak from the sort of extreme repression North Korea has used in the past. And this thing kind of slipped out of hand and slipped out of control. And now it's spreading really rapidly. As we know, North Korea is basically an underdeveloped state. You know, we talk about North Korea a lot on the news about its missiles and stuff like that. You know, it looks sort of very terrible and fearsome and stuff. But, you know, outside of the military, North Korea is actually quite underdeveloped. And so North Korea doesn't have the medical capacity to actually respond to anything like this really at all. And so now they're probably desperate. You know, I mean, the North Korean elite can't channel this thing. It can't control it. It's going to make its way into Pyongyang. And so they're probably scared. And so they're looking for help.
As you say, North Korea is probably ill-equipped right now to deal with the pandemic, but it has an ally in neighboring China. China has been a long-standing friend to North Korea in times when it's been an international pariah. Do you expect China to step in and really help Pyongyang deal with this outbreak?
To some extent, I think the PPE will probably come from China. And China has a vested interest in this. In fact, all of us do, right? I mean, it's not in anybody's interest that North Korea become a massive hot zone for corona and bring it all roaring back, right? I mean, even though we have all these geopolitical issues with North Korea, there's both a humanitarian and sort of medical argument for helping them, no matter how bad it is. And China feels that too. The border with China and North Korea is somewhat open, which means if it persists in North Korea, it will slip back into China and just continue to make things worse. So I imagine the Chinese are going to step up. The big problem, of course, is that the Chinese vaccine doesn't work terribly well, right? And the North Koreans have already hinted that they actually want vaccines from the West. The problem is those require the refrigeration, the sort of the cold chain. The vaccine, you can't just like leave it in a closet or something like that. And it's not clear that North Korea has the capacity to do this. In fact, they probably don't. They probably just don't have enough refrigerators, quite honestly, particularly in rural North Korea, to actually store these things before they do the shot. And I think that's really the problem. You know, again, North Korea is just, especially outside of its cities, North Korea is basically a third world country with very few roads, very few, you know, hospitals and things like that, schools, you know, roads. I mean, a lot of, you know, rail, a lot of it just isn't there. And so if you're going to serve, you know, millions of people who are living in small villages around North Korea, it's going to be an enormous logistical hurdle.
And the revelations of this massively growing outbreak in North Korea comes ahead of a visit by the US President Joe Biden, who's due to arrive in South Korea and Japan. His tour starts on Friday. Do you think the two are related, the fact that Pyongyang is being more transparent about its troubles and Biden's upcoming visit?
That's actually a good question. My sense is probably not. You know, it's hard to know. I mean, it's North Korea, right? This COVID exploded on North Korea, and I think it sort of happened when it did. It's not clear to me that it's in any way linked to the coming trip, and so the North Koreans are not really scared, and so they're going public with it. In a way, I suppose it's fortuitous that Biden's going to be in the region because it actually will probably be on Biden's agenda when he sits down with the new South Korean president. I mean, this thing is getting so bad in North Korea that Biden's probably going to feel like, you know, we should at least say something. And again, I think it's in everybody's interest that we get this thing under control in North Korea. So my guess is the statement between Biden and Yoon, the new South Korean president, will probably actually contain something on North Korean COVID because it's just so bad.
Okay, Professor Robert Kelly, we'll have to leave it there, but always a pleasure to get your analysis. Thank you.